K.R.I.T album dropped today. You listen to it. It's called, I keep forgetting it because it's one of those long titles. Digital Roses Don't Die. I like the title, first of all. We're living in an NFT environment. A lot of things are digital, and I think that's probably a play on that. Digital Roses Don't Die. I love that. And not to mention, we're talking the streaming era, and he's getting his roses. I think it all works. What were
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts on the album? Or do you want me to start?
You start.
All right. Well, I've always had this thing with Big Crit where it's like, I felt like he was always almost regurgitating sounds that he was influenced by. I think we all do that early on when you're trying to find your style. You hear that in every artist. And
Mhm.
for his particularly, it was artists that I grew up on, the UGKs, the Outcasts, the 8 Ball MJGs. And so I think early on with his material, things that were new to people that were gravitating to him were kind of old to me. So I didn't get into him as much in a way because I felt like some of the stuff that he was doing had been done better,
Hmm.
or at least had been done during a time where I was where it was very impactful for me, I guess, or impressionable is the word I was looking for. Um,
Mhm.
so anyway, I'm always checking for Crit stuff because I like him. I like his perspective. I like where he comes from. I think that he's a dope MC that doesn't get his just due because of some of the approaches that he takes to music. I thought that him signing to Def Jam didn't do anything for his rise. I think that he was bigger when he had a buzz. I hated that he
Mhm.
signed to Def Jam, and I'm glad that he went the other direction of the majors and isn't in line with that. With that
Mhm.
being said, this project it sounds a little bit more the same of what I was saying earlier, but it sounds like some level of growth from that, if that makes any sense. It still takes on some of those themes, but these are good songs. It reminds me, and I hate to compare people to shit, but it reminds me of some big boy ish horns, stylistically, some things that maybe I would think Andre 3000 would do if he was rhyming on a solo tip, and I like the songs, but I don't think it's anything that you said something earlier where you feel like Crit never found his sound.
Mhm.
I don't totally feel that way. I think he goes in and out of his sound.
What is
And
the sound?
when I
What?
played the project, I liked the project. But it was a couple of songs when he was this was a couple of years ago. I want to say this might have been 2017 or 18 when he was coming out with those little projects like where he was doing like 3 songs each or whatever.
Like
It
18,
was
I
like
think,
a
and then
little
he did a
series
full
he was
project in
doing.
19, right?
And he dropped one, I think it was called Thrice or something, and it
Mhm.
had learn from Texas, learn that shit from Texas, and he had pick yourself up on there, and I'm like, those are the ones. And I wanted him to, do more of that, not more of that, but just that energy. And so even when I was listening to this project today, I went back and listened to those. Like, am I tripping? And when I heard those or learn that shit from text, I turned it up. Like, that was, to me, that didn't sound like anybody. It sounded like him. Dark Matter says never messed with Crit, but though he thought he should do a project with David Banner. I think I think that's equatable. I think Crit's nice though. That's the crazy part about it. You know who he reminds me of? He's very similar skill set wise to a J Cole. I think he's a better producer than J Cole,
He is.
and I think as a rapper they're very comparable. I
I don't
just
agree.
I think I'm talking about skill set wise, right? Like if we talking about bar for bar, I think they're very comparable. I think J. Cole's able to do more. I think J. Cole's versatility sets him aside, and his skill set and his vulnerability and what he gives you makes him different. But I think that they're very, very comparable, honestly. But I just think that the output on a home run level, and it's crazy we're saying that in comparison to J. Cole, just doesn't equate to Cole. It's hard, man. It's hard.
You remember David Banner's group?
Firewater.
Firewater's the record with Noriega.
What was the group? Yeah, but that was the group.
Crooked Letters.
Yeah, that's it.
Firewater was the track with Nori.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gray Skies was the album. I was working in the record store, Manifest, that I've talked about frequently in Charlotte, and Gray Skies came out. That's how I found out about David Banner. So on that album, I heard David Banner's producer potential, but the other guy on there, Kamikaze, he was a dope-ass rapper, Mike. And I felt like one of the worst things that ever happened to Kamikaze was the fact that somebody told David Banner how stupid talented he was and that he could do it by himself, and he went and did it. Big K.R.I.T has been somebody for me his whole career that has always kind of, I wish would have had a David Banner so he could handle more of the MC duties. I feel like he's always been handling too much, and that's why he hasn't been able to find his own style, because he's just dope enough as a producer that it takes away from who he is as an MC.
I could see that. I agree. Because sometimes, and again, same thing with J. Cole, right? Like, sometimes as an MC, and as talented MC, you need to step back and let somebody handle those duties so you don't have to worry about those things, and they can give you direction. We just talked about how Alchemist steps in and totally puts a battery behind whatever MC he's working with to a degree where he's able to give you that direction and he's able to help you make a full project. And yeah, I think J. Cole and Big K.R.I.T have a similar problem in a way where it would help. It would make them better if they would take a back seat. And even if it was a co-producing thing, let's just say, right, like, let's just say organized noise for experience reasons or whatnot. So you know what, we're going to take on this Big K.R.I.T project, but they still get the input from Big K.R.I.T as a co-producer, and they kind of go in on it together. I think that will make a world of difference.
Well, you're absolutely right. I was actually thinking, like, when you think about J. Cole, like, let's go to, like, when J. Cole, because I don't think J. Cole is in that place in his career where he even cares about necessarily making singles anymore when he's dropping projects. But in the time when he was doing those things, but that was around the time Hit Boy was getting some shine. And it was like, well, I go back and listen to some of those Cole records, and I listen to how dope Hit Boy sounds with a top-notch lyricist like a Nas. And I'm like, man, Cole could have called Hit Boy to co-produce some of these joints, and they would have came off a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, maybe.
That's one thing Kendrick does
the biggest Hit Boy fans. I'm just using it to contextualize how just like a little bit of help in some of those spaces can make all the difference when you're already great. Like,
that's one thing. Great. That's one thing that Kendrick does right. He lets producers produce. Let me go to the super chat real quick because I know we're gonna get even more into this. Ray Realms, shout out to him. He says Alchemist is my favorite producer of all time. Nevertheless, there are some producers that can defeat him in the verses. Yes, okay. That's honest. And DeCarlo has a super chat here. DeCarlo says, where do you guys rank K.R.I.T among his Slaughterhouse peers? Slaughterhouse?
I'm not part of Slaughterhouse.
Okay, I'm confused. Are we talking about Crooked Eye? Joe Budden's Slaughterhouse?
Ortiz.
Okay, we got another super chat. We'll get back into it. Jay Short says, do you think bringing an era without much sampling has hurt? Being in an era with not much sampling, has hurt K.R.I.T. His mixtapes are better.
Has hurt who? Did he say? You're talking about Al still?
No. He said, do we think that K.R.I.T being in an era that doesn't have a lot of sampling, has that hurt him musically?
No, I'm going to go back to him not finding his style again, because the thing about his best stuff to me was always that, well, UGK and Outkast and 8 Ball and MJG did it better than you did it. So I'm more likely to go listen to their best stuff than your stuff.
That was my thing too. And you know what? If that's what it is, right? If that's what it is.
What it is.
No, I'm just saying.
It's not a knock thing. We're talking about UGK, 8 Ball, and MJG, and Outkast.
I agree. If that's what it is, though, you go out there and seek out Organized Noise, Mr. DJ, or whatever, and y'all work together and make this thing bigger. But that's how you feel that he didn't find his sound, right? Has he ever worked for Big Boy?
Because the best stuff of his sound really wasn't his sound. And so when you did it the best, it's like I can go to somebody else's sound and better. And so even when you go to Big Boy is the author of some of that sound. Mm-hmm. And so even though if he doesn't execute it, it's like author.
Yeah.
Author.
I mean, I got some of that even with this project. I mean, I like the songs.
So can we go to this project? Because I really, really enjoyed this project. But this was the thing, and I can't help but go to this. And this will be great transition to go to the next thing. This album is what The Love Below would have sounded like had Andre been in more of a rapping place still, to me. And I say that in a complimentary way. Yeah. And K.R.I.T is not Andre. So the star power, charisma, and all the nuances that come with Dre that make him so epic are not there. But I'm just talking about in terms of putting this project together, like on some love meets rap, kind of sing-song, like deep-rooted southern. Like, yeah, it sounds really, really dope, but it's still like, man, this is what we wanted 3 Stacks to do on The Love Below was my takeaway from it. And I feel that way about the best work that K.R.I.T always does. I always find myself going back to his predecessors and being like, man, listening to this project really makes me think about that. And that's my thing.
And then I'll go back and listen to it. Right.
It makes me, it's like when K.R.I.T's best stuff, it's like, man, I really want to hear Riding Dirty or AT Aliens right now. Man, I want to hear The Love Below right now. I shouldn't feel that way when I'm hearing some of your best stuff.
I agree. New really music should feel like new music.
Right, because your project's really dope. I thought about another artist, specifically about one song, Mike, the song Generational in Way Down, where he's talking about the generational curses. It's a masterfully and beautiful written record. It is one of those things that make people believe that K.R.I.T is the type and caliber of lyricist that Cole is. There's the evidence of it. But I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, these type of songs exist because Kanye made Jesus Walks. He made it okay to talk about all these things.
Man, I can't wait to talk about this Kanye documentary, man.
You like my transitions, Mike? I got some 3 Stacks and some Kanye for you. Go.
I know you said we got to get off at about 7:30. Is that still true?
We got a little bit more leeway. I might have some 8-ish time I'm working with.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. Because, I know it's 6:45 up here on the East Coast. Because I do want to get into this Kanye documentary and I want to get into this Kendrick podcast. We could kind of cap off this big K.R.I.T conversation, but it is interesting you said that about Andre. And I think I said earlier offline that it does sound like at moments if Andre were to make a solo rap album, these are some things that we would want to hear. And it made me think about, Happy Valentine's Day verse, because it was just Valentine's Day and that's on the album. It's one of the few times he rapped on that album. And what Andre did very well is he doesn't waste bars. And everything is right there to the point. I think that's why people hold him so high for such little output. Like, got a sweet little darling back in my corner. Below, I know I love her. Yet act like I don't want her. Surrounded by the lonely, but yet feel like a loner. Could be an organ donor the way I give up my heart. And it's like, damn. And that's 4 bars. 4 bars in, you already feel like, okay, I'm full. Not many people can do that.
No, Mike, I'll never forget this. And this is the best description of Andre I've ever heard in my life. I was riding with my man Byron Lawrence. Me and Byron went to UNCG together in Greensboro. I was riding with him in his Mitsubishi Montero when Stankonia came out. And the song I'll Call Before I Come with Gangsta Boo came on. And he looked over at me when Dre got done rapping and he said, Coop, he said, Dre is the best ever at making the simple things in life and making the simple words dope as fuck.
He is.
He's the best ever.
Because I always thought, like, because when I was growing up, I always thought Andre was so deep. And I'm sitting here, and then you start digging into other lyricists, and it's like, okay, they're using vocabulary and they're using all kind of metaphors and this and that. He doesn't have to do those things.
Need some hope, like the words maybe, if, or probably. That's him in a nutshell.
Yeah, man. I thought, I thought
Real
another line.
Real brilliant.
I thought another line on Akuma and I was him in a nutshell when he was like, I was on synthesizer, and he's like, I might look kind of funny, but I ain't no fool. It's like, I mean, that's just, it's simple stuff.
So let's go to that verse when I'll call before you come.
I was just going to say, he has a whole bunch of what Jay did on What You Eat Don't Make Me Shit. Like, those are his lines. Like,
yes, that's his style.
Yeah.
That's his style. That's what I'm saying. Like my boy Byron said that because he was talking about how he ended the song. No, I kind of dig those old cute regular draws, and I will pause for your cause. Right. It's simple, but it's like, man, that guy's brilliant when he delivers it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where are we going? Are we going yay or 3 stacks?
Are we going yay 3 stacks or
dope album by K.R.I.T though?
Dope album by K.R.I.T. Dope album by K.R.I.T. Again, I want to hear more learning shit from Texas. Me personally.
And I don't know how to rate it on some rap shit because it's like if we don't rate Young Thug's album as a rap album, do we rate this as a rap album? Because there's more rapping on here than on Thug's album, but not much.
Not much. It's tough when you gotta rate albums that don't have a lot of rapping from guys who are MCs, and that you're looking for some MCing from.